So today I'd like to talk about Fedora 40. I'm going to be talking about a number of the spins and labs today, probably in brief, but not a complete look at it. But currently, as I'm making this video, it is still in beta. The first scheduled date where it might go live or, fully supported or released is today. So we'll find out if it is going to be released today or not. Have not heard anything about whether it's going to be delayed. Just so you know, Fedora releases every 6 months a new version. So the next one should come out sometime in October, and that'll be Fedora 41. Each of the major releases is supported for up to 13 months. You can think Fedora is not a long-term support release. It's a developer's distribution is primarily what it's designed for. It's the first link in the development cycle for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And so you have Fedora, then CentOS Streams, and then the final place is Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So Fedora is kind of viewed as a place to explore new ideas and introduce them and see if they're viable or something that they want to include in future releases of Red Hat Enterprise. I mean, not everything makes it. The minimums and recommended requirements have not been officially released by the Fedora team, and they probably won't be until everything is done. The dust is settled and they have said, okay, this is it. We're going to release it as is, and then they will let us know what they are. So these come from the Fedora Workstation 39. So right now, what I have is single CPU with at least 1 gigahertz of frequency, 2 gig of memory, 20 gig of disk, and a 1024 by 768 display. The recommended is 2 gigahertz dual core CPU or better, 4 gig of memory. Yeah, again, depends on what you're doing. You might be able to get by with 4 gig, but I would recommend going to 8. That gives you, enough headroom to launch a couple of browser sessions and maybe have email open or whatever in the background in order to be able to do your daily tasks. 20 gig of disk space, we'll find out how accurate that is. I don't think the footprint is that heavy. So, but again, that depends on what you're installing and how much data that you want to put out with it. We do know for sure this, the 6.8 changes. However, the dust hasn't quite, you're in an advanced kernel and an advanced distro when even the documentation hasn't caught up. So not all of the documentation for 6.8 is completed. There's a new deadline server that's been added, but unless you're using the real-time kernel, that's probably not good. You're not going to care about that. ZSwap file system subsystem can now force cold pages to real swap. So in the past, ZSwap, for those of you who don't know, is keeping your swap file in memory, which seems like a weird idea to me because the reason why you need swap is because you ran out of memory. And if you're storing it in memory, that just seems totally backwards to me. You should be putting your pages on disk. And so if the pages go cold, even ZSwap is going to try to flush them out to a real swap file or swap partition. So daemon memory management now supports auto-tuning. The other one that seems kind of weird is this one, which is transparent huge pages never. That'll disable the creation of transparent huge pages. I was always taught, and I don't know, I guess they don't teach programmers anything anymore, but never use negative logic, and that is negative logic. Kernel can now block direct writes to disk. So, well, for us benchmarkers, that's not great news. I mean, but if somebody turns on the block direct writes, then I'm going to be measuring the file cache. But hopefully that we can still disable it in order to do our stuff. But the list mount and stamp mount have been merged. XFF updates is paving the way to support online repair, and that's good news. It's not in there. The repair is not in there yet, but they're adding in the support for it into the XFS file system. So SMB file systems can create block and character special files, and of course those would get created in your dev for that. The Bcache now has a partial but functional online file system check and repair mechanism. I'll probably be taking a look at that in a future video. I'm kind of interested in Bcache FS. It's kind of fascinating. Networking implements a caching that has improved TCP/IP performance for concurrent connections. Now, when I say concurrent connections, I don't mean 5 or 10. They're talking in orders of 1,000. I have seen benchmarks that show up to 40% improvement in performance, but it's doubtful that we're going to see much of a change in the home labs. What about Fedora itself? What kind of changes are going on there? Well, the Fedora Silverblue and Kinolite have added support called boot update, or UPD, and that solves the issue of updating the bootloader, as OS Tree doesn't manage bootloader update. As far as the major changes, obviously we've moved to GNOME 46, which has some differences, and the biggest one is it is defaulted to Wayland. KDE Plasma is 6.0. It has also gone Wayland only. And of course, again, same thing, the X11 apps will still run. Cinnamon 6, haven't heard about what their plans are for Wayland. I know that they added, they're starting to add some experimental support for Wayland, but I'm sure they're no way near where they need to be in order to say, okay, we'll go in Wayland all the way. But if you have deep pockets and you just happen to own an AMD MI300 Instinct, then this release will help support ROCm for you. Also, Podman 5 is the updated version, and as I said, X11 session should be dropped for GNOME and KDE. As far as the Python world, PyTorch is now available for Fedora 40 in a supported format with the release. You have to install it still, of course. But initially, it's only going to support CPU execution. Acceleration for GPUs, using GPUs and NPUs will come later with updates. So they haven't committed to when that'll be. I don't know. We'll just play it by ear, and as I hear something, I'll let you know. Pydemic is a data analysis tool to make sure that it's clean, has the right formats, and the data within it is conformant to whatever rules you have picked for it, and that's been updated to version 2. Python 3.7 is retired and no longer supported. Fedora Atomic Desktops, so these are the ones that use OS Tree for their repositories. So we have, and this would be the immutable versions of Fedora. Fedora Silverblue, of course, is GNOME-based. Fedora Kinolite is KDE-based. Budgie Atomic is Budgie-based. And then you have Sway Atomic, which is a window manager that is based on Wayland. I think it comes, actually, it's a clone of i3. LibreOffice has now note their versioning, because they have moved to, so if you're wondering, well, I was on 7 and now I'm on 24, what happened to the rest of them? Nothing. They've just moved this to have the year as part of the version to help them track where they are and what year that particular patch came out. Mozilla Firefox is initially 124. I don't know what it is now. I know there have been some updates to it. I've seen them go by. And then the Files application has an expandable notification feature. The other thing is Settings app. When you go in there, you'll probably find it's all been reorganized. What the GNOME team did was they attempted to move what they felt were the most frequently used settings to the top, so it's easier to find. But you may stumble for a while, like I did, trying to figure out where they move stuff, particularly the stuff that they don't consider to be more frequently used. So, yeah, but it's just a matter of getting used to how they did things. But it's a welcome change to have things that are more frequently accessed at the top. The camera app replaces the Cheese app, although the Cheese app is still available if you prefer to use that as well. The System Monitor app has been updated to GTK4 and Advit. So I also noticed that besides the refresh in the way it looks, it is faster, and they have added more additional monitoring capabilities to it. At least the default is seems to be more complete. I'm not going to go through all these. This is just the tool chain. If you need more information about each of these, you can go to their release notes on the Fedora. I think there's on the magazine and on their documentation page, there should be a release notes that will go through all the toolchain updates for you. I am missing two of them. One of them is PHP, and I believe that's 8.3, and Ruby, which I believe is 3.3. So let's go take a look, and let's walk through Fedora 40. I've always taken a look at Workspace before. Let's do our walkthrough on Silverblue today. All right, so what I want to do is take a look at my usual things. So let's see. First of all, sysroot is taking about 15 gig. All right, let's see what we got. Let's take a look at what the footprint looks like. So it's about 1.13 gig for. So yeah, you definitely could get by with 2 gig over here. Just remember, it's a lighter load than Workstation is because Workstation has more curated apps. Let's look at the app caches. 1.83 gig for used in memory. It's getting, man, this thing is it's starting to creep up to 2 gig. So yeah, 2 gig is probably going to be really too light. I mean, I know that most of that is taken up by caches, but you really do want the system to run as fast as it can. And if you've only got 2 gig to begin with, that's not leaving you a lot of free space to work with, to do much with it. Remember, all I've got open right now is a terminal window. If I go and open a browser, so let's see, it shot up to 2.3 gig. 124. Okay. So you'll want to look for a video on upgrading Silverblue from 39 to 40. I went through that. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically, I pinned this one so I didn't lose it in case I want to go back to 39 because it is still under beta, and if I run into something that's bad, then I can just roll back. So, and it's sitting right there in my third slot and allowing me to roll back to it if I need to. What we're interested in is the results anyway. There we go. Wow, there was a ton of them that went by. So yeah, that's lower than I normally get on Workspace, on the Workstation version. So 67. Gonna bet it's GP. The group check, and I don't have a firewall. As far as the rest of it, yeah, this is all common stuff. So yeah, it's not finding anything new anyway. Let's look at what they did here. So you can see they put the network and Bluetooth up on top, which is right there. I don't know why they did that, but okay, whatever. And then you have your display setups here. Now, I don't have HDR, but my understanding is that they now support HDR if the monitor does, and mine doesn't. But yeah, and then sound is dummy on this one because I don't have it turned on. You can choose balanced or power saver for this. There's my workspaces. My appearance settings. Then it goes into apps, notifications, search. Yeah, these would be less common once you were set up. I upgraded, so cheese is out here. And then I had to manually install this because it doesn't do that for you when you're coming through the rebasing process for OS tree. It's not an upgrade. It's basically moving the repositories from Fedora 39 Silverblue to Fedora 40 Silverblue. So yeah, it's going to keep all of your applications intact. These are, for the most part, are Flatpaks. So you have to run an update on those separately, obviously. All right, let's look at files. So this is, well, there's my CD. So this one will actually, this is the first time I've seen Fedora successfully being able to look through the network, but you'll notice it's bringing back Windows protocols, and I have NFS servers up and it's not seeing those. Yeah, it's not seeing the NFS. The other thing you're supposed to be able to do is if you have cloud accounts and you want your cloud drives to show up, you can do that too. But I think it has to be set up first before this will see it. Let's go look at the system monitor. So yeah, right away you can see that there's a lot more data here. Kind of looks like the Mac version. It's kind of the same information that the Mac gives you. This is new. Oh wait. Then file systems. This doesn't look that much different to me. It would be real nice to see the nice value. So yeah, instead of this is kind of weird. What does normal mean? Or very high mean? It doesn't tell you. Does it? Does it tell you what it is? Maybe in properties I can tell it that I want something different. It's a -11. Okay, well, as long as I can see it some way, I guess that's fine. Yeah, as you can see, there's not a lot installed on this. So the Silverblue comes pretty lean. As far as the store is concerned, we kind of touched on that. This hasn't changed all that much. So we've done that. Let's go take a look at the benchmarks and see how it performed. All right, so I wanted to go over some of these. So I did this as a kind of a joke to put the ARM boxes. There are 3 ARM machines in this benchmark, and this is being the Fedora and Ubuntu are both running in a virtual machine. This is on a 12th gen 1240 mobile chip. It's a 12th gen Intel NUC. So I thought the Intel would just kind of walk away with it. And no, that's not what happened. So let's look at the harmonic mean, first of all, of the I/O test. So Fedora had a 1 relative performance. You have to remember when the distance is big between the numbers that the Pharonics test switches. I don't have any control over that. So before you tell me that this needs to be something other than relative performance, that's fine though, because at least you can get some idea what it is. This is yeah. So I mean the Pi 5 is a USB drive, so it's not going to be real fast here. But the Mixtel and the Jetson are both. This is using the eMMC on the actual CPU module. This is using an NVMe and NVMe. These two are PCIe 4. This one is a PCIe 3, which is all the Jetson can do. So anyway, but yeah, I was surprised it was that close, really. That the Jetson is 84% of the I/O of an Intel box. Wow. The ARM boxes are definitely moving up. And then the harmonic team for MIDI bytes. Remember, usually these flip. So if you do well here, you usually don't do so well here. However, these two traded places, but they're really tied. So no difference between those two. Ubuntu is using ext4, and I don't like to benchmark with the ButterFS. So I'm using XFS here. I'm using the old standard from Fedora that they used to use, and that Red Hat, by the way, still uses. Let's take a look at the BOGO ops per second. And this one, Mixtel took the lead with Ubuntu and Fedora pretty close behind. The Jetson is 75% of the Fedora, and Pi is 54%. I didn't think it would be. If you've seen any of the benchmarks in the past when I've done ARM, I mean, it's like not even close. I mean, this ARM is quickly catching up, and in fact, it's doing better in some cases. Geometric mean of all tests. Now, these two dominate, but look at this. This is surprising. The Mixtel, this is a $200 comp versus a $1,000 NUC. So, yeah. So if I bought 5 of these, it would be way more powerful than that thing. Ubuntu 1.9, Mixtel 1.3. The slow one here was the Pi and the massive tests. High performance computing tests, the Jetson is going to do well. It's tuned to this kind of workload. And then Mixtel does very well here, and then Pi, and then these guys trail behind. Ubuntu and Fedora do well here. Mixtel does very well, I think. I mean, it's not far off the pace. It isn't gonna take very. It could be as soon as the new Snapdragon is released, that this lead could be over and ARM could be on top. It is really, this is let's see, that chip that's in the Mixtel, I think came out 2 years ago, where about the same time this one did. So let's see, got geometric mean of machine. This is of the machine learning test. So this is TensorFlow. Jetson is definitely, these two are definitely tuned to it. The Mixtel is using its NPU, and the Pi also has sort of it's using its graphics processor here. This is using its graphics processor, and then these two, the graphics processor and this machine, not so great. So if it had a real one, I mean, it would probably be up there somewhere. Memory tests, Fedora and Ubuntu, this memory is faster than this memory that's in those two boards, but still not bad. The Ubuntu and Fedora does well on the server CPU tests, but so does the Mixtel. I mean, it's up there. It's right up there with those guys. I'm just surprised at this. I really am. Single-threaded, yeah, Intel's there. That's the king. The Intel does better. In the first place finishes, Fedora and Ubuntu are tied, 28 and 28. Then Mixtel comes in right here, and with 12 for first place wins. So it's kind of far back in the pack if you look at everything. And then, of course, the Jetson and the Pi are in the the Pi actually beat the Jetson for number of first place finishes. Wow, amazing. Last place finishes, the Pi is the overall loser here. Jetson is next. This is almost 500. Oh, no, almost $600 for that. That's an Orin Nano. So that's almost $600 for that thing. And then you have Fedora here, and then Mixtel, and then Ubuntu. So Mixtel actually tied with Ubuntu for last place. And my final thoughts. Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a surprise. Today we looked at kind of the overall things. I'll probably come back and do a video about upgrading Silverblue 39 to 40. If you want to read ahead, look for rebasing using OS tree. That'll give you the information you need if you want to jump ahead of my video. And then I'm going to do, obviously, I'm benchmarking Ubuntu's 2404, which is in this last test. The benchmark results were mixed between Ubuntu and Fedora. They're both using the same hardware, same configuration, 8 gig of memory, 4 CPUs, and then the same amount of disk. Because you need quite a bit of disk for being able to run the X264 and 265 tests. I think that this release of Fedora seems very snappy to me. I'm going to do a full benchmark on the I/O, so look for that down the road when I get enough of these new guys that are dropping to rerun the tests again. So I don't know when that will be. I'm going to guess sometime this summer. By the way, the Fedora is live. The Fedora 40 is officially released. So it's no longer in release candidate status. But anyway, that's all I had for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope to see you again soon, and bye for now.